in an unexplored corner of the world, where trees towered like shadowy giants and mist touched the ground. Like a hint of ghosts, a lonely cabin bore witness to the forest's darkest secrets. The old wood in decay hid stories of unimaginable horrors, and the fireplace in the center was the guardian of the shadows that danced on the walls at night. Marcos, a middle-aged man with tired eyes and an unwavering curiosity, found himself immersed in this dark atmosphere, defying the rumors and legends that surrounded the cabin and its unwanted visitor. Marcos, a student of the occult and the inexplicable, heard stories told in hushed tones by the villagers about a man who, long ago, had lost his sanity in the arms of the dark forest. They spoke of a being that, at midnight, lurked in the shadows, its eyes red like fresh blood, watching every movement of the hut's unwary occupants. The wind carried its whispers, and the trees hid its secrets. Determined to discover the truth behind the legends, Marcos armed himself with courage and knowledge, entering the cabin with a mix of fear and determination. The cabin was modest, but the air was heavy with the weight of untold stories. The fireplace crackled, the flames casting shifting shadows that seemed to whisper secrets in Marcos' ear. The clock on the wall kept time, each tick and tock a reminder of the inevitable meeting that was approaching. Marcos felt his heartbeat, adrenaline running through his veins as he prepared to face the unknown. As the night progressed and the forest became denser and darker, a sense of apprehension grew in the air. Marcos could feel the invisible eyes watching him, the hidden presence making the atmosphere oppressive. With every shadow that moved, with every creak of wood, he felt the deranged man approaching, his insanity touching the edge of reality. The moon was hidden, and the only light came from the fireplace and the dim glow of Marcos' lantern. He explored every corner of the cabin, looking for signs of the distraught man, his notebook filling with observations and speculation. With each step, the forest responded with a whisper, the trees twisting as if they were alive. Promptly at midnight, the cabin door opened with a slow, agonizing creak. The cold wind invaded the space, and with it, the distraught man entered. His eyes were red as the legend said, and his gaze was empty, an abyss of madness and despair. Marcos felt a chill run down his spine, but he remained firm, facing the being that lived in the shadows. The distraught man moved erratically, his movements unpredictable, and his presence an oppressive force. He spoke in whispers, meaningless words that echoed off the cabin walls and intertwined with the wind. Marcos tried to communicate with him, trying to understand the origin of his insanity and the reason for his obsession with the cabin. The night dragged on, and the tension grew. The distraught man became increasingly agitated, his eyes fixed on Marcos, his voice a constant murmur. The cabin seemed to respond to his presence, the shadows growing thicker, the fireplace crackling more intensely. Marcos felt fear growing inside him, but his determination was stronger. He had to discover the truth, unravel the mystery that surrounded man and the forest. As Marcos approached the man, he could see the marks of his madness. His face was covered in scars. His eyes were sunken and his body was thin and ragged. He spoke of voices in the forest, of shadows that whispered his name, of a darkness that consumed his mind. Marcos, listening to his words, felt reality distorting around him, his sanity being tested by the secrets hidden in the shadows. Getting even closer, Marcos tried to touch the man, to look for some trace of humanity in his empty gaze. But as he did so, he felt a dark energy enveloping him, an invisible force that was dragging him into the darkness. The distraught man laughed, his laughter a shrill sound that mingled with the screams of the forest, fighting against the darkness that enveloped him. Marcos sought within himself the strength to resist. He had to discover the truth, understand what had turned that man into a being consumed by madness. With every shred of his will, he approached the man, his eyes fixed on the red eyes that watched him. The night was at its height, and the moon was finally revealing itself behind the clouds. Silver light illuminated the cabin, revealing the shadows that lurked on the walls. The distraught man, sensing the presence of the moon, became even more agitated. His voice rising in a desperate cry, Marcos, using all his determination, faced the man, searching the depths of his mind for the secrets he kept. He felt the insanity touching him, reality warping around him, but he held firm, his will unshakable. Finally, after hours of confrontation, the distraught man fell to his knees, his voice a faint whisper. Marcos, exhausted but determined, approached him, his eyes fixed on his. He could see the pain, the madness, the hopelessness that lived in him, and deep in his red eyes, he saw the truth. The forest was alive, its secrets kept in the shadows and in the trees. The troubled man was a prisoner, his mind a cage where darkness hid. Marcos, touching his hand, felt the dark energy, the force that consumed his sanity. With one last effort, Marcos used his knowledge and his will to face the darkness. He felt his mind being tested, his sanity hanging by a thread, but he wouldn't give up. He had to free man, unlock the secrets of the forest, bring light to the darkness. The disturbed man, feeling Marcos' presence, fought against the darkness that enveloped him. He screamed, his words an echo in the night, his pain a flame that consumed the darkness. Marcos, uniting his will with his, faced the invisible force, his determination a beacon in the darkness. The fight was arduous. Darkness was an implacable enemy. But Marcos didn't give up. His courage and knowledge were his weapons against the unknown. The distraught man, feeling Marcos' strength, gained hope, his mind beginning to free itself from the shadows. With one last scream, the distraught man broke the chains that bound him, his mind freed from the darkness that consumed him. Marcos, exhausted but victorious, looked at him, his eyes meeting his. They were two men, united by destiny and the search for truth, facing together the secrets of the forest. The distraught man, with tears in his eyes, thanked Marcos, his voice a whisper of gratitude and hope. He spoke of the horrors he had faced, of the darkness that had consumed him, of the madness that had overcome him. But thanks to Marcos, he was free, his mind freed from the shadows. Marcos, looking at the forest around him, knew that the fight was not over. There were still many secrets to be revealed, many shadows to be faced. But he was ready. His courage and determination were his allies in the search for the truth. Together, Marcos and the distraught man left the cabin, the moon lighting their way. The forest was silent, but they knew she was alive, her secrets kept in the shadows. They walked side by side, two men united by destiny, ready to face the unknown and unravel the mysteries of the night. As Marcos and the previously distraught man walked deeper into the forest, the atmosphere around them seemed to change. The weight of darkness and hidden secrets gave way to a feeling of relief and renewal. The trees, once threatening, seemed to welcome them with their branches, and the full moon cast a silvery glow that illuminated their path. The man, whose once red eyes were now clear as water in a stream, looked at Marcos with gratitude and respect. Together, they walked side by side, sharing stories of their lives and discoveries, creating a bond that transcended the supernatural experience they had experienced. As they delved deeper into the forest, they began to realize that the nature around them was responding to man's liberation. The mist that previously covered the ground began to dissipate, revealing the true beauty of the forest. The animals, previously elusive, now appeared curious and fearless, following the two travelers with inquisitive looks. Marcos, with his notebook in hand, recorded every detail, every change in the atmosphere, every new element that appeared in his path. He knew he had only uncovered a small part of the forest's mysteries, but he was determined to continue his research, delve deeper into its secrets, and discover everything it hid. Man, freed from the darkness that imprisoned him, began to rediscover himself. He shared with Marcos the fragmented memories of his life before the madness, the voices that tormented him, and the moments of clarity he rarely experienced. Together, they reconstructed their history, finding the keys in the past to understand the present and explore the future. As dawn approached, the forest lit up with the first rays of sunlight, and a sense of peace and hope enveloped the two men. They had faced the unknown, unlocked the secrets of the darkness, and found the light at the end of the tunnel. Sitting on the edge of a stream, they watched the rising sun, reflecting on their experiences and the path to be taken. The man, looking at Marcos, expressed his deep gratitude and spoke about his desire to start over, to live a life far from the shadows that had consumed him. Marcos, touched by his words, promised to help him on his journey, offering his knowledge and friendship. He knew that the forest still held many mysteries, but he was ready to face them, with the man by his side and determination in his heart. Together, they stood up and walked toward the rising sun, ready to face the future, unlock the world's secrets, and find the truth they sought. The forest, now an ally on their journey, whispered ancient stories and forgotten legends, guiding them along unknown paths and revealing their deepest mysteries. The journey would be long and the challenges would be countless, but Marcos and the man, united by destiny and the search for truth, were ready to face them. The darkness had been overcome, and light shone on the horizon, promising new discoveries and unimaginable adventures. And so they moved forward with hope in their hearts and determination in their steps, ready to write a new chapter in their lives and in the history of the mysterious forest.